Well, good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to another session of the 18th annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment virtual conference. I'm Bob Hales. I'm your moderator. Keep in mind this year we've been sponsored by the Journal of Educators Online. That's JEO. They have a veritable, ver they have a lot of refereed articles dating back to 2004. Have a chance, take a look at those. You'll be bound to find something of interest. You may also want to submit an article to them for publishing. You can find them at thejeo.com. We have with us this morning Marcus Green and Sierra Miller, both from Kennesaw State University in the great state of Georgia. And Marcus is an instructional designer for digital learning innovation, which sounds like a fun group to be part of.
Mhm.
It
And
is.
Sierra, you can what what do you do?
I'm also an instructional designer.
Mhm.
Actually, I was an instructional design specialist. So before, I've been with DLI for 3 years now, and so I just recently became instructional designer. Yeah, but I've been part of the DLI for 3 years now.
Oh, cool. I have said during my career that if I'm starting a new, online experience, the first person I hire is an instructional designer. They
Mm,
just make such an impact in so many ways on courses. So, hey, great.
yeah,
So,
thank you.
let me turn it over to Marcus and here.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm also started teaching, not teaching, but instruction design. I came in with ERA, but I actually been teaching and learning probably like 20 plus years. I have a lot of experience across, K through 12 as well as higher ed. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys was um, the AI course compass, what it does, and it's not just a tool in itself; it's a decision process. And I developed it based on my experiences. When I first saw AI come out, I saw a lot of confusion. I saw a lot of misuse, and I wanted to present something from an ID instructional designer perspective in using AI within course design. So this is where we're coming from. Um, we're going to share the 7 phases of equitable pedagogy first, always decision-making process. Identify practical entryways for faculty to begin aligning AI within their teaching goals. And ER is a, we also presented this in, was it November for the OLC. So
Mm-hmm.
we're just sharing this with you guys. So next slide.
Yes, so we're gonna be, as Marcus said, he developed this, and I'm just supporting him and presenting with him, but he's the one who developed this framework. So for the next slide, we're gonna be talking about the objectives of um, this presentation. Of course, first to explain the structure and the purpose of the AI course compass as a framework for designing with AI ethically and intentionally. Second one is to illustrate how the 7 compass phases guide equitable, pedagogy-driven decision-making in course design. And lastly, to identify practical entry points where faculty can begin using the compass to align AI with their teaching goals. Now, the problem that this compass is trying to resolve are, the following. So first, AI tools are flooding higher education. So there are just too many AI tools too fast. So there is a rapid introduction of AI tools in universities and colleges. And of course, we feel the pressure to leverage these tools, to acquire these tools, use these tools for efficiency and innovation. And when that happens, of course, there's faculty feels pressure to adopt quickly. There's institutional pressure. There can also be peer pressure to integrate AI into their courses without adequate training or time to think about how it fits well or effectively. And when pedagogy takes a back seat and all of these are in the front seat, trust and outcomes suffer. What do we mean by that? When the focus shifts from sound pedagogical principles to simply using AI because it's available and because there's the feeling of needing to catch up, then the students can feel disconnected, distrustful of the learning process, and they may not be able to achieve the learning outcomes that we set for them. So those are the problems that this compass is trying to solve. The next slide will be faculty concerns, and Marcus will talk about that.
Okay. So one of the things I've taught, K through 12, and and one of the issues that I came up when a concern was, oh, a new tool coming, so that means that we have to relearn. Do I have time to do this? We replace, well, especially with AI, we're thinking we've been hearing about how AI is being used and misused or what have you. They said, will it replace me? Is it ethical? Do I have time to learn this? Because my students are learning this. I must, it's, I think I should consider try to understand what's going on. And one of the things that is this thing about technology, people saying they're pushing the technology before pedagogy. My perspective is you have to have pedagogy first before you implement technology, because if you put technology first, you're gonna run into some issues because that people it won't be you're not presenting as a new shiny tool for people to this says, oh, it's pretty cool to use, but is there a practical purpose? And this is what the one thing I want to address that it's you want to make sure you clarify your learning intent. So if you clarify your learning intent, then and then you integrate it AI, whatever AI tool, then it's more practical and it's how it's more effective. Okay, so one of the things that when I was creating this, I really, again, based on my years of experience and reading and through papers and things like that. So you want to, my understanding of AI work is not, it has to be based on the way the tool was created. It's not necessarily, it's biased because, it's biased because it's going to be biased because of the design process. And it's not neutral. It's somebody, a human, we all humans, we are biased. It was created. So we have to make sure that we question the output. That's why we always say when you're looking at output or your output, you have to double check, you have to fact check it because there may be bias within the output. You can't just go for it, go based on the output. You have to verify the information. So we know that it's not neutral, it's bias in nature. And again, like I said earlier about pedagogy is the first safeguard is we have to make sure that the pedagogy is first, the intent. What's the instructional intent of what your goal is, what your objective is? That needs to be first. And one of the things that I recently updated was the idea of policy. Policy is very important because you have to make sure that you are working within the parameters of your institution. And you have to make sure that when you're designing your course, that you're not only making sure it's pedagogy first, but you also make sure align with your institutional policy. And one of the things that I wanted to point out is with this framework, which also includes a policy-driven framework or decision-making process. The next slide, let's see, is, as I said earlier, about this pedagogy first process. One of the things I want to point out is that this framework is this. It's the overall framework, but within that framework, there's this the AI course policy. So you're thinking in terms of it's a framework, it's an ecosystem, it's a whole framework in design. So one of the things that the central process of this is you determine the instructional intent first, which once within that you execute the strengths of the or your policy, and AI must be second in regards to that. It must have boundaries. Boundaries are within the policy, and it must be driven by instructional teaching decisions. And one of the things I want to point out is a simple, based on what I'm representing, is a basic, simple position. Learning design determines what technology is used. I'm going to say it again. Learning design determines why technology is used. AI stands to instruction, but it does not replace it. Humans should always be first in this process. So this is what essentially I'm trying to solve and to present. Um, and one of the things that, as I said before, you have to you have to understand based on these decision process that, AI is there. It's not going anywhere. So we have to learn how to integrate it within our learning systems if it's necessary. So if you look at the pedagogy for first framework, I'm not presenting the entire framework. I'm just focusing on the operational aspects of it, which is the AI course compass. One of the things I want to point out, as I said earlier, the framework, what it means. AI stands instruction. It's not the other way around instruction, it stands AI. We keeping it very simple. It's an instrument, it's an ordered decision process. Based as an instruction designer, we like order, we like processes, we like things to be, systematic. Well, like with adding things of that sort, we follow a process. This framework is built on it on that process. And one of the things that I want to point out is that if you look at the instrument itself, you look at it, the AI course compass, it works based on another, it's like a couple more layers that we're looking at, which we have the AI learning compass, we had the AI course compass, and then we had a AI ethics and lens framework. We said, well, that's a whole lot of frameworks. But if you follow the process, it makes sense. And again, I'm sharing this on my OSF have documents to share the links with you if you want to take a look at it. One of the things that a question becomes, where does it live? What does this policy that I kind of recently updated? If you think in terms of this visual of how it operates, is at the top, the top, it defines the learning value and the ethical stance. After that, we have the middle level is the safeguards, the product safeguards and actionable boundaries. And then under that, we have a course compass, which women share. And this is one of the things I want to point out. This is the policy does not start course design. It shapes how decisions are made. So that's one of the things I want to make sure that's understood. So here is the actual course compass. And if you look at the layers, I was thinking of it as a cyclical process. It really, if you think of in terms of the adding system, it's a process that goes on and on and on because you're innovating, you're evaluating. So, if you look at the first process, the line process pretty much this is the shared purpose. What are you trying to solve? What instruction intent are you trying to start first? And you have to answer that question before even touch technology. If you start from that position and you have a good basis, then you go to the next step. The next step is you gauge the confidence, the readiness of the AI. We're going to give you an example of how this process looked. Uh, Theoretically, now we're going to give you like using an AI tool, how this would look. Following that stage, you can map it out in your course, how it's laid out in your course. Then the important part of it is the pedagogy planning. You align the pedagogy and assessment based on what you're trying to do. You test the prototype part. You test the AI, whatever you're doing. The product testing is done by the faculty or whoever's doing instructor. It's not done by the students. The students do not touch it at this point. That's why the importance of human oversight is so important. The human needs the person who designed this or who's building this course need to test out themselves. They don't just build it and then test it on students. They test it themselves, make sure, and test with other people, not students or whoever students or test students, not implement within the course. You have to have a prototype. Next step, we have the implementing. The implementing deals with applying it with coaching or what have you based on the test. Next one is to innovate. That's the evaluation, innovation, then that process that starts over again based on revisions or what have you. And one cool thing about this process, you can start anywhere, but I always, I don't like to say from 1 to 7, or I like to say based on 7 audit steps. So you can actually start on any level, but keep in mind that if you are, say, for instance, you can say, well, I you know, already have, the mapping done already. You started the mapping. You can go through this process of, with your instructional intent, faculty instructional intent, and you can kind of go through this process and find out, and based on um, what you're trying to do, you can actually build out your course. One thing I want to note, this is a conceptual thing. There are um, workflows in this. I'm not sharing the workflows because it's part of, hope for a future doctoral study. But this is a conceptual understanding of a process. But there are actually templates and workflows that's within each design process. But this is just a conceptual overview. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure that I include was the idea of a policy checker for every single level, every single phase. What is your institutional policy saying based on that, that phase of development? So, like I said before AI is implemented, the faculty confirms AI use with the current institutional guidance, student data, proper compliant. That must be considered as well. The judgment, evaluation judgments, they're protected, disclosure expectations are met. So within my framework, you have a transparency, transparency, not only with faculty, but also with students, so they understand why this AI is being used and with the purpose of it, and how, how am I, if I'm being necessarily, I won't say graded, but how the AI is being implemented. And one of the things, what's one cool thing about this AI course compass, it it really doesn't matter what tool you're using, AI tool you're using. You can use Gemini, you can use ChatGPT, you can use any tool. It's not exclusive to one particular AI, generative AI. It could be anything. That's one of the things I was thinking about, considering how it can be universally adapted to any type of AI if you want to use it within your course. I want to say, do we have any questions? So if you have any questions, just please let me know. We'll monitor in the chat. Okay. Yeah. So is this me, Yara? Or
Yeah, I'm gonna go talk about this one. So
okay.
this is about step 4, which is pedagogical planning, which is the most important because this is a pedagogy first framework. And of course, in this part, we clarify the outcomes, we align the assessments, and also identify AI's appropriate role. We also do an integrity check, assessment integrity check, wherein we make sure that our assessments, or we make sure that in our assessments, AI does not replace student reasoning. It does not perform evaluative. judgment and or obscure authorship or accountability. So on the next slide, we're going to show you some assessment examples, assessment integrity examples, wherein you will see what when we give assessments like this, we can inform students what AI can do and what AI should not do. So, for example, and we always base this on the objective of the course or the assessment or the activity. So, for example, if the objective is for the student to be able to explain reasoning, your assessment or activity can allow for AI being able to prompt reflection. But you must inform students, they must know that AI should not produce the final answers. They should. Also, students can justify if the activity or the assessment is about justifying decisions. AI can still be part of that assessment or activity as long as it only does surface gaps. But at the end, students make the final decision. AI does not. The third example is if students are asked to define conclusions, then in this case, AI may generate counterexamples for evaluation, but again, we need to make sure that AI does not replace the cognitive work because that's the student's role. The next slide would
Can
be,
I make one
oh,
point? Yeah.
yeah,
One of the things, this is the transparency that I want to note because oftentimes I've seen as an idea in working with faculty, the idea of was letting the students know upfront
yeah,
what's
transparency.
happening, transparency, not surprise. They didn't know anything about it. This is one of the things that's built in this AI course compass and this overall framework is transparency across all the phases. So so everybody understand their role and what they're trying to do.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. If you as the instructor is using AI, let the students know. If you're allowing them to use AI, let them know that this is the purpose, this is the role that AI can do, but these are your roles as a student. So I think it won't be helpful to sort of be in denial that students are using AI because they are. So might as well just set the guidelines, inform them beforehand, okay, this assessment, this can be done by AI, but the final product must be yours. And
Correct.
of course, in assessments like that, there are again disclosures, as Marcus said a while ago. There are evidence that you can ask students to submit. You can ask them to, of course, also like sign or submit like an academic integrity statement, something like that. So those are some evidence or additions that they can submit, including their final work. Now, for this one, how the AI course Compass guides faculty decisions through real use cases, we are going to present three case examples. The first one being an AI-supported peer review. So for mostly for like literature, English classes, we have this activity of peer review, and we have this problem that students' peer feedback is shallow and AI generated. So what is the goal for this problem? For student to evaluate the quality of the source and to be able to justify their critique. Again, this is a pedagogy first framework, so we must think about that. And for this one, the pedagogy is for feedback literacy, for students to learn how to properly give feedback, complete effective feedback with structured peer review. So the peer review must have a structure and must be able to be effective, especially to the student who's receiving the feedback. Now, what can be the AI's role in an assessment like this? AI can generate initial feedback that student must critique, revise, and justify. So the feedback that AI produces cannot be the final product. Student must critique that, revise that, and justify. Again, AI supports the process, but student remains accountable for judgment and their final work. So you can use the AI course compass in this situation by these are the entry points that may be that use. So first we have align. Align is very important because it's about the goal, the problem, or yeah, the goal of the assessment, which is we've already talked about. What's the problem? What's the goal? Now, the planning, again, this is a pedagogy first framework. So we think about the planning, and the plan is to use AI as a draft feedback generator. But again, with human verification, um, human revision. Prototype is when we test the AI tool, and obviously, this should be in a low stakes environment. So this can be just a discussion activity. And then we evaluate that if it worked properly and if we can improve it. The most important thing is that we make sure that in this activity, the AI tool is not replacing student judgment. Um, do you have anything to add to that, Marcus, before I
Yes,
move on?
yes, just something really quickly. Thank you. One of the things is, with AI supported peer review is the importance of, you notice that it says it's only outlining like the align, plan, and prototype. But again, if you if you are working with an ID, even if a faculty member is working with an ID, and they have like the ready stage already done. They already know the confidence, they already know the content of what they're trying to do. They can skip that phase.
Mm-hmm.
So within that framework, within that process, that phase, they can skip it if the work has already been done. So what I'm saying is based on the faculty knowledge level or they're working with an ID who understand course design, you can actually skip levels if you already have established that phase within your course design. So that's one thing I want to know, that you can skip, but keep in mind that sometimes when you skip things, you may miss
Mm-hmm.
some information that should have been included initially, which is okay. We always constantly revising and making things better, which is okay. But the importance of the flexibility that the AI course offers is very valuable in my opinion. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And as Marcus said a while ago, when you go through these steps or levels, then you also must check policy.
Mhm. Correct.
Case example number two is large lecture courses or large lecture classes. I've personally talked to an instructor recently, and this is one of the issues she's having. Student engagement is hard if the class is too large, and of course if it's online, that adds a layer of difficulty to engage students. So for this one, the problem is the students skim content and rely on AI summaries. So instead of just reading the content that's provided to them, for example, in their LMS, they just copy and paste that in, for example, Copilot, and then ask for summary. So there is no deep engagement, but that is the goal. Deep engagement with course concepts is equal to learning, actually learning the topics. The pedagogy is active learning. That, of course, we want that because that contributes to successful learning, being active engagement, and of course, retrieval practice to strengthen comprehension. Now, what can be the role of AI in a situation like this? AI can auto-generate personalized quizzes based on students' own work. So if this is something that this is a great, of course, plan, but if, for example, the instructor is going to do this himself or herself, then that would be too much work, too much time, an added burden to them aside from the fact that they're already doing the actual teaching, providing assessments, giving feedback, and so on and so forth. So this can be a role that can be given to AI. But again, there must be boundaries. So how can the AI course compass be used in this situation? First, we can use go to the ready phase, which is where we identify the students' digital comfort and of course accessibility. Accessibility is a very well, it has been important forever, but it has received a lot of focus recently or attention recently, and so we have been working a lot on accessibility. But that is definitely something that you can think about too when you're in the ready phase. Because we can't just be or asking or letting students use AI tools if we don't give them proper guidance or if we don't know where they're at. The next one, plan, which is again, very important because this is a pedagogy first framework and this is something that shouldn't be skipped. So for the planning stage, this is when we think about what can be AI's role in this situation. And in this one, it's generating the quizzes. Implementing it is going to be supporting learning in action. So that can be through feedback, reflection, mentoring, making sure that, okay, AI is, of course, creating the personalized quizzes, but it's also, I mean, obviously, the quizzes needs to be graded, provide the instructors need to give feedback as well. And then last is innovate, wherein we can be analyzing the engagement analytics. So did adding AI or allowing AI to create the personalized quizzes, did that help with the engagement? Did the students actually learn? Did it help improve grades and so on? So those are the phases that can be used in this situation.
The last use case is a graduate seminar. So again, start with the problem. The students misbias or fail to connect sources across themes. So the goal would be build evaluated judgment while synthesizing research. This is like a high level course, obviously. One of the things that, as you know, AI is really, really good. If you think about Bloom's on the lower level, the knowledge, AI is awesome with that. But when it comes to the evaluated part, the evaluation at higher level, not so much good. It's gonna have gaps. It's gonna have, because AI does not have contextual awareness, so it's very difficult. One of the ways you can solve this is, again, I kind of outlined the pedagogy, that you can help the AI identify the bias and gaps for students to verify and defend. So, but what could happen, you can have the AI look at it and then the student say, validate what the AI is saying, not, do their own research, and they have to defend or counter defend if AI says something. And, ultimately, well, one of the things I want to point out with this is the overall goal is you're protecting student learning and student cognition, because we don't want to have the AI, think what the students want. We need students to verify, defend, and justify what conclusions they're made, not just and make it, one of the things that I find that you want to make sure that you want to make students to be critical thinkers, you don't, and it's hard to do, but it's also can easily be, misused. You want to protect critical thinking because ultimately that's how you want students to own the information. That's the ultimate goal. I'm not going to say a whole lot because I want to make sure that we have time for questions on this, but I believe you guys understand the idea. So we're going to move on with the next slide. Is that me, Yara? For okay, so as I said, transparency is a design decision. It's not that you're not hiding anything. Instructional AI, you must disclose. It's very important to disclose what you're doing. That's that's practical. And have you have a so students understand what you're trying to do. We need to point out the AI, um, what are exactly how AI is being used and not used within the course. Oftentimes, it's so easy to say you can use AI to do this, but what are we addressing? What you cannot do? Is it clear for students? What are the boundaries of this activity? When this is done, you preserve transparency and you build trust with your students. Okay, does that
Yep.
mean okay?
So for the benefits of the AI Compass, first, faculty clarity and confidence. So if AI is introduced thoughtfully, if we go through the phases, we plan very well, then instructors will understand how and why to use it, and they will be more confident in using it and more effective. Sustainable adoption, not hype. So it's important that we're just not using AI for the hype, just not to catch up with everybody, not because it's available, but because we are focusing on long-term solutions that we want to improve teaching and learning. Equity-minded integration. That's why the AI course compass, the very title we mentioned um, ethically, equity, because those are very important. That we make learning fair for everyone. That students with different backgrounds and resources all benefit from this one, and also from learning. They're able to all learn fairly and equally, and they have all the same resources that they need. Also, stronger student outcomes. So when we use the AI Compass, we're able to really think about how we can make sure ensure that students are achieving the learning outcomes that we set at the beginning of our courses, and that they're not just mindlessly going through materials and just completing a course and just, and being done with it, that they're actually learning. That's the goal. And policy aware by design. The AI Compass is policy aware by design. It's not compliance driven. So that's why we also have that policy checker for every phase. So yes, hopefully that you can consider using the AI Compass. And of course, if there are questions, we'll answer them later. But we have some more slides. We still have time, correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, we also have this case study that we want to share, wherein faculty AI use breaks the trust of the students. So faculty AI use, so the teacher, the instructor used AI without informing the students. So it was not disclosed that the faculty is using AI. And so a student noticed instructor used ChatGPT to edit lecture notes slides, but the instructor banned the students from using AI in the course. And so the student demanded an $8,000 refund, citing double standards. And of course, the request was denied, but it raised national debate on AI ethics in higher ed. So that's why Marcus and I were talking about transparency a while ago, because it's important that we inform students if we are using AI, if we're not using AI, if they are allowed to use AI or not. And so if you can include an AI policy in your own course, and of course the institutional AI policy as well, if you have it in your universities or colleges, then it's important that that is in the syllabus, that everybody is aware of that, and that is followed.
Okay. So one of the things that as we close is what's the lessons learned. That one of the things that I always emphasize pedagogy first. Pedagogy first. Pedagogy must anchor AI adoption. That should be the foundational thing when you're making course design. As an ID, policy must be visible but not dominant. You know, you have to, it has to be it can't be, policy is important, but it must not the thing is it must not be a dominant factor, which means overwhelming your course design. You have to be compliant, but at the same time you must protect learning first. AI stands human teaching, not replacing it. So the human element always should be first. And that's one of my mantras, that when it comes to generative AI, human thinking first, human teaching first. The framework, as I share with you guys, it provides guardrails that, to help making that decision process. Again, I always say this is not necessarily another tool, but it's more of a decision process or decision flow process when you are designing your course. And the goal isn't it's the goal is not to avoid AI. It's coming whether it's here, whether you like it or not. Students are using it, you know, it's here. And the thing is, you want to be transparent, you want to be equitable, you want to have purpose. Purpose is the ultimate factor in when it comes to course design. Sometimes when I talk to faculty, and they're trying to solve a problem, sometimes you don't really need AI to solve that problem. You can do something that traditionally that you've done earlier with modifications that may work. AI is not the answer to every single thing, but if AI fits your course design needs, or and if you went through the process and it's justifiable, of course, why not? Because the technology is here and it's not going anywhere. So that is um, pretty much our presentation. So we're kind of opening this up for questions that you guys may have about, this process. We'd be happy to answer.
How well do faculty understand and buy in to this? Is it still a challenge?
It's always a challenge. I mean, anything that's new, because one of the things that I found out, I look at LinkedIn all the time, and I see all these people, they're introducing a tool, but about something cool, but what is the overall intent? The technology is always first. Uh, it's kind of like a multi-layer question presented because faculty are on different levels. You have some that's really proficient and they know about AI, some in the middle, there's some, they have like, or it's going to steal my stuff, or whatever, it's going to steal my research or what have you because it has privacy issues in it. Um, Again, one of the things is with this, it's not all about going all in. You can take parts of it and you can integrate it within your design process. I mean, we are kind of taking some aspects of it with the a custom GPT that we are currently conducting. There's some elements within the AI course companies that I'm implementing. Not the whole thing, but some parts of it. You can take parts of it. You don't have to put every or just jump right in. You can just gradually introduce some aspects of it until you become comfortable with it. But the resistance is there. I mean, anything that's new, it's there. Regardless. My thing is the overall outcome is what it, what's the best for your students. You know.
And hey, what's best for the students? I totally agree with you. Ultimately, that's what we all should be concerned about, right? And
Mhm.
if they're paying good money, we
Oh,
should treat them as well as we can. It'd be interesting in a couple of years, seeing if faculty have really gotten on board and it's not the same or as big a challenge as it was then. Uh, hey, it's the kind of thing, it's going to happen. And, to resist change is usually a failure.
mhm.
And you're better off getting on board and playing a role in how it goes forward.
I believe I have a question here.
Hey, hey guys, this is Kip. All right, here goes. Is that I agree with you. I think the technology certainly has gotten out ahead of us. In
Mm,
fact, I've just finished a class, and unfortunately, is 90% of them were used had indications that they used AI,
mm,
not not in a proper way.
okay.
And I did put out, all of the don't do this, here's where you're authorized to do it. I showed Bob the other day my
Mm,
list of things that I say that they should do so that, like the prompts.
Right.
to use to encourage critical thinking, to go back and check the answers, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And hey, in one ear and out the other. So,
Yep.
I've been banging my head against the wall. Is how do we go about doing this without decimating the population, or
Mm-hmm.
by making it legal?
Mm-hmm.
There's too many people doing drugs, therefore we're going to make drugs legal, kind of a thing. Because let's be
Yeah.
serious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how would I go about encouraging that at the school level, not the student level, right? The
Mm-hmm.
students are going to do what the students are going to do, but I really
Yeah.
don't want to decimate the population. But at the same time, as we seem to be, as professionals, not embracing the tool, but
Mm.
more or less, doing our usual bureaucratic move to take forever to get somewhere and then find out that the bus has already left when we got there.
My.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, it's nice. Unfortunately, when people go and develop, whether you're developing a new drug at a pharmaceutical place or if you're developing a new feature for the car, nobody thinks about training anybody until after the feature's already out there.
Yeah.
That's that
you
Yep.
know,
that that is so
and
true.
next thing you know, you're driving over somebody because my car was in
Ah,
autopilot. It's okay.
right.
So yeah, like I said, one, don't want to decimate the population. Two, I
Yeah.
think it's incumbent upon the institution, not the student, to figure it out. Okay, because the students are going to go, whether you want to believe it or not, they're going to go hope for the low hanging fruit first.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Okay,
True.
especially when we're talking working adults.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
A single parent working two jobs, trying
Yeah.
to get school so they can make their life
Understood.
better. And
Yeah.
guess what's going to be the easy way out?
Right.
Right. I
And I
agree.
don't want those people to have to pay for something because we dragged our feet so long.
Mm-hmm.
I totally
Uh,
agree. I totally
so
agree.
when I look at that, is I go back and ask them. So if I were to allow you to use AI in the classroom, and I tell them is I know you're using
Yeah.
it. How would I be able to measure your learning
Mm.
so that I know that you're getting the information, not copying and pasting?
Yeah.
That's a good
And
question.
I don't get them to respond.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you heard of I think it's Leon AIAS assessment
Yep.
scale. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love that, but one of the things that I implemented was his assessment is usually done um after the fact, because you're saying, did this student use AI? How much of it? I'm presenting what before you implement my framework is answer the question, what constitute human use first before AI. So this is done beforehand, not rather after the fact. And that's one of the things I want to share. It's part of it, I know because of the time and we can't go into it, but the idea is that my approach is pedagogy first, your instructional intent first. And I totally agree with what you're saying. We're behind the eight ball. I mean, because with AI, one of the things with the alignment with an AI course compass is having um, institutional leaders support. We just
Mm-hmm.
like implementing AI on Copilot, and we have to, it trickles down, and those institutions move slow, and it's really hard to to catch up with what's the current technology
Yep.
because we're so far behind. That's because there's nothing, that was put in front of faculty to, it's kind
Yeah.
of like,
The
try to do what
problem
you
with
need to
that
do.
with an institution is that the person at the bottom always pays,
Right.
and that's
Mm.
also they also pay, but
Right.
they're going to end up paying with having to look somewhere else to get an education
That's
because
true.
we'll react in the wrong direction, and that
Correct.
I don't want them to have to do that. The
Right.
student, I
Totally
mean,
agree. Totally agree.
I can't. The institution is going to do what the institution does. But I
Right.
find it odd is that I have a friend who works for a company called Mantech, and they encourage her to find new ways to use AI every day, not just once a week, every day.
Wow.
And her son was told, and I don't know if this is a misinterpretation, but then again, it goes towards students thinking is that at Virginia Tech, they are told that it's okay to use AI with no other guidance.
Wow.
Isn't it interesting?
Very, very
A future
interesting.
engineer, and here, and my guidance is, let's go and talk to the AI first, which, what do you want to call it? Very Star Trekky.
Mhm.
I mean, I want to say that first I want to say that I admire you for what you're doing because obviously first you're open-minded enough to acknowledge, hey, my students are using AI. So what can I do about this?
Yeah,
What guidelines can I give? And you did give guidelines, but again, still it's being abused. The AI is being abused and students are not actually doing the work, but it's just relying on AI to, I guess, complete activities and so on. So
yeah,
it is very disappointing, but I just want to say that I appreciate what you're doing because at least you're headed to the right direction because you're
Mhm.
already acknowledging what's happening. You're already being part of the solution, you know. Hopefully
well,
this, this framework can help you. And
yeah,
hopefully we can come up with, I guess, as you said, something so
yeah.
that
Well,
we don't, yeah, so that we're not doomed.
yeah. I see. The students have to be a participate in it.
Yeah.
It needs to be a conversation, but we don't have a conversation. We have a one way.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
and you know which way that always flows.
Right.
So
Yes.
that we don't take into consideration how it would help them, and at the same time how it could be used to reinforce their learning versus um, you know
Yeah.
uh, uh, is, as a crutch instead of learning.
Right.
So
I mean,
I thought it was funny is the local public schools around here have gone to, they give all the students in this particular county a computer,
hmm.
and that they block AI on the computers. And
Oh,
I say,
okay.
oh yeah, that's interesting. Except when I go to my phone and I put AI
Yeah,
on my phone that you don't own, and then I
that's
email
true.
myself the AI and then copy and paste out of my email. All you've
That
done is
is
add
true.
another step. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
how would you go about encouraging that? And I think we need to ask that question, but we need to ask that question to the people that pay the bills.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
By doing it in a vacuum.
Mm-hmm.
So true. So true. I just want to say, being cognitive of the time to thank you for sharing and the participants. And feel free to reach out to any one of us. LinkedIn. Uh, you just put in my name.
Yeah, you're putting your email if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah. I can do that as well. So yeah, definitely
Yeah,
share.
but one last comment before we have to go. When with the advent of Google,
Mm-hmm.
students didn't have to remember so many things. I'll just Google that and get the answer.
Right, right.
Okay, now with AI, well, I don't have to really know how to create that article. I'll just let AI do it for me.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's really a significant change
And,
yeah.
and
because it's like having your cell phone with you. You always get the answers, except when you're out in
Mm-hmm.
the middle of nowhere,
Right.
you have no signal and you don't know anything. It's all
right.
in your phone. That
Exactly.
creates real problems in
But
life.
And, and another layer to that is the article actually true, or was it
Mm-hmm.
made up
Oh,
hallucination?
yeah.
So
yeah,
they're
I can
yeah.
see students just go, "Oh yeah, that sounds good. I'll submit that," without
Without
knowing.
checking, without
Yeah.
verifying.
by just off the topic of education, just like, we talk about the modern world, and my sister-in-law was sitting in the back of our car, and we got one of those cars. Of course, you put the car in drive, and it locks the doors.
Mm.
And the first thing when we put the car in park, it didn't open the doors. So my sister-in-law says, "You need to open the doors." Although there's a little button there that she can push to open the door,
Right.
but it didn't come into her head. I had to open the door because I had to use the switch, vice the button. And that's my concern with the students is that they'll stop figuring out how to do things.
Yeah.
And you see it every day. I mean, I just had a student email me and say, "I've got an accommodation. When are my assignments due?"
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I can totally agree because when
you guys are the IT generation. Look it up.
I mean, when we're not using our critical thinking that much, then when we're faced with a simple problem, we can't even like think anymore. We can't even solve it anymore because we're like,
Yes.
oh, I'm used to just, relying on something else to solve this for me. So I can't, my brain is not
Yeah.
functioning anymore. It doesn't know what to do.
Yes.
Oh, I wish we could talk longer, but we got to
That's
go
Yeah.
to the
Okay.
next session.
next
This
one.
was really, really fun and causes us to think even more about where we're going and how we're going to get there. So,
Mm,
Marcus and Viera, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank
And
you.
thank you.
we'll hopefully see everybody at the next session.
All right. Take care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Thank you.